Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, feeling fantastic, and having a great start to your Tuesday and your week. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Tuesday, and I definitely appreciate you folks tuning in this morning as we do that and really discuss everybody in the lower 48. Expecting some strong to severe storms for certain areas of the country. Sounds like a broken record. Seems like we say that at the beginning of every video, but that's just typical kind of weather stuff in the spring, summer, and even into periods of the fall, which it's August 1st, guys, so we're getting a little bit closer, even though August is typically very, very hot. Sometimes the hottest month of the summer. Thinking back to the past here in South Carolina, August is notoriously very hot, but the last several summers, August has not been that bad, very average. So hoping that's the same kind of trend this summer for sure, and for everybody else too that just does not like the heat. There's a lot of people who need a break from the heat, and I'm really speaking to you folks in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Kansas for sure, even Arkansas. So we're going to break it all down. Definitely a flash flooding risk today in Missouri. We're waking up to it this morning in Missouri right now. Currently, we're going to try to compare some model guidance on what could unfold a little bit later today. So with that being said, you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I really appreciate the amazing month of July. It was the most successful month since I think, I want to say April. So, I mean, that's saying a lot. So thank y'all. Thank y'all for just easy like Sunday morning, just cruising through summer, and the growth of the channel has been just very steady. Nothing really slow about, very, very steady. So thank y'all for the amazing growth on this channel, and just any new members that are just kind of newish. Thank y'all. I hope you feel like it's a family type atmosphere with this channel, because that's certainly what we aim for here. If you guys got anything that I can pray about, pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it, and so others can do so too. And everybody prays for one another on this channel. And just read through the comments. It doesn't take a lot to figure that out. A lot of scrolling. Everybody looks out for one another. So definitely, if it's unspoken, put that there. Okay, and we got you covered. And more importantly, God has you covered. Let's get rolling this morning. Water vapor loop. Let's see if she'll work. And she does. So we're good to go. Water vapor shows it pretty well. Okay, tall ridge building all the way up here. Okay, and then you got the trough in the east. This has been pretty much on repeat over the last few videos that I've made. Now, just because the ridge builds all the way up to here, that don't mean that we do not get storms, rain in general, that cruises through this region. Okay, so the path of the storms, the actual high is probably somewhere into this region right in here. Everything's just kind of rotating around it. So you got showers and storms ongoing in areas of the plains. This will continue to take more of a zonal flow, basically west to east. And then as it gets to basically the northeast portion of this ridge, which, high pressure somewhere into here, you might can move this H down here a little bit more, but basically all the weather goes around this. Okay, so this is why you got action moving more so like this in Missouri right now, because all the flow does this. Now, a lot of times on the bottom half of this ridge of high pressure, a lot of times there's not a whole lot going on, but sometimes you can still get some flow out there that gets some storms going. But in this case, it's not going to be the case. But this will continue to be the general theme, even into this afternoon, this evening, general flow. Now, you got troughing over here, a little bit of a stalled boundary somewhere into here in the Carolinas into Georgia. This will provide lift and certainly plenty of moist air, and just provide enough kind of oomph in the atmosphere for some showers and storms in the Carolinas again today, even into Georgia, Florida. But beautiful, beautiful air mass in the northeast as you're being dominated by this troughing in place, waking up to even some chilly conditions out there this morning. So it's you guys are enjoying it. Of course, if you like that early fall feel, you're certainly enjoying and waking up, walking out your door, going to work or wherever you may be going with your windows down, and it's like a breath of fresh air up here for most in the northeast. And that is because the jet has dipped, and you can see it here, ridge out here. Everybody's very hot here, and very beautiful air mass. Give you a good old check mark here in the northeast. So we'll get all this off, and we'll move on. And you just saw everything I just drew. Right now, you go to, this is the European model, and this is as of right now where it thinks everything is, and it matches well. You see where I just drew everything up here, ridge builds, these warmer colors you see on your screen, the burgundy, the reds, the oranges. That's basically what this ridge is set up. Now you see these cooler colors, just the yellows, the greens. That is where your trough is. Think of that as a cold front, basically a stable, cooler, drier air mass, and this is dipped over this region. Now, basically, wherever the boundary is between both, that is typically where your weather flows, okay, where the jet streak is. So, hope that makes sense. I always want to explain that over and over again for you folks, and I feel like we got to do a mixture of trying to educate, you guys, and also not get too nerded out on it. Some people like that, some people don't. But try to, I guess, present it to the way that the audience can understand, which is you guys. So we got a severe storm up here in northeast Montana. That's something that's going on. And this is what I'm talking about. Ridge is down here, and I'll kind of zoom out here in a second. But you got this piece of energy that's kind of moving, from the southwest to the northeast out of Colorado into areas of Nebraska, where we're waking up to some showers. Not really any storm activity, more so just kind of consistent rains moving through western areas of Nebraska. But if you look down here, this huge area of Missouri, which by the way is what we were, I made a community post about this, what we were concerned about with the flash flooding. And here we are. We have flash flood warnings. Let me know what you're seeing in Missouri. I would love to know. Hope you guys are staying safe, and we'll definitely tunnel vision on this area later in the video. But you guys are waking up to flash flood warnings, and you just got a steady streamer of storms. Some of these storms were severe warned about an hour ago. So if you zoom out and look at everything, okay, and you see what's going on, I'm going to have to zoom out one more time, okay? You can see it well, okay? This moves in like this, kind of moves in like that, and then it sinks to the southeast from the northwest. We call this side of the ridge a northwest flow, and that is exactly what's going on in Missouri. And all this action up here, sometimes you have this basically some pieces of energy that flies on the upper portion of these ridge, basically kind of like an upper trough of energy up here, low pressure, and that is actually going to spark some severe weather for areas of the high plains, the northern plains today. I meant to say the northern plains. So that's kind of what's going on. Spent entirely too long on that, but that's all we do on this channel. Spend a very long time on certain areas, but I start geeking out on that, and the more I do it, the better I get at it, and the better I get at presenting the information to you guys. But we got 3 areas to watch. One right here in the southeast with a stalled boundary. Not much to speak on, just a marginal risk, typical summer kind of stuff. You're definitely, going to probably have a good bit of shower and storm activity, especially the coastal regions, basically from Florida all the way to the eastern sections of Georgia and the Carolinas today. And then right in here where you got the marginal risk, which you could upgrade to a slight risk in this region today. This is basically where those ridge rider setups are coming in. They move in from this way, then they move back down. So you got the marginal risk basically from the high plains to Missouri. And then up here, okay, you got a slight risk, level 2 out of 5, and this is basically, it discusses this down here, basically a shortwave trough ejecting east across the areas of the Canadian region, Alberta, things like that, and is going to swing down out of Canada, affect the northern plains from the upper portion of this ridge, and give you guys a higher chance for strong to severe storms up here. Tornado threat, pretty low for everybody, but I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they put a 2% risk down to here on the next updates, which by the way, they do here about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I drop the video. Wind threat, just your typical 5% risk with marginal, but you do have the 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in any given location. This yellow, hail threat, still same, 15% risk of 1 inch in diameter or larger hail up here in North Dakota, areas of northwest Minnesota, and a very small section of extreme northeast Montana. Excessive rainfall outlook, I mean, I could see this upgrading to a moderate risk. But right now, you got a slight risk in the yellow, which stands for at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in a given location. This area, northeast Colorado and surrounding states, and then streaking right through the heart of Missouri. Okay, I could see a moderate risk getting issued in Missouri here in the next update from the outlook. Okay, that would mean there would be at least a 40% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles of any given location. We'll see what happens with that. Watches, advisories, warnings. You have excessive heat warnings in the purple counties down here. That means, you guys know what it means by now. It's going to get extremely hot. You guys have dealt with some kind of heat advisory, excessive heat warning almost every day this summer. It's going to get well over 100 degrees in Dallas, Fort Worth again, Shreveport. It's going to be very hot and humid up into Little Rock. Very hot all the way up into Kansas, where it'll get well over 100 degrees. And you see how this heat advisories are bordering these flash flood watches. I do that all the time. These flood watches. I always want to say flash flood watches. But you see how they're bordering these and even creeping close to this area in Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska. That tells you right there what's going on. You can look at what the pattern is almost by looking at the advisories. High pressure, center of high pressure right here. When you're close, the closer you are to that center of high pressure, the more air sinks. And remember, to get showers and storms, you need air to rise. So the more that you're really confined to that high pressure, the less chance of showers and storms. You get to the outer portions of this ridge, you get a moist flow, therefore you get showers and storms, and that's exactly what's happening in Missouri. So very hot even into Mississippi, excessive heat warnings, and then you got red flag warnings to mix with all this heat and this kind of hot pink color right here, where you have excessive heat warnings also. It's just being kind of overshadowed by the red flag warnings. National Hurricane Center updates. Not much to speak on. What's left over 96L, it does not look like it's ever going to breach a tropical depression. Chances have dropped. So, and then we got this, which never really, it had a chance, obviously. I mean, if there was a chance issued by the National Hurricane Center, it had a chance, but it had a brief higher chance. But this is entering colder waters. So, this 97L that was a surface low off the coast of the Carolinas just a couple days ago, continues to race out into the North Atlantic. We don't have anything to be concerned about with these two. And after this, there's a chance the tropics could get kind of quiet for the foreseeable future. The Southeast today. We'll talk about Missouri. We'll have a separate little time stamp for you guys, so stay tuned. But for everybody else, you're going to get numerous showers and storms in Florida again, southeast Georgia, and then the eastern Carolinas. But of course, we could get it also in the upstate of South Carolina, the Piedmont, Triad, foothills of North Carolina for sure. So we go on and zoom into these regions right here. I do want to mention, you guys could wake up to some, typically I include Tennessee in the southeast timestamp here, but you guys are probably going to wake up to some rain in western Tennessee, even western Kentucky tomorrow morning from the rain that I'll mention here in a second for Missouri. A little bit closer look at Florida for you guys. I think a lot of shower and storm activity could develop, especially in the southern peninsula of Florida. These could drift to the east coast, Fort Lauderdale, even down to Miami, up to Melbourne. You guys could certainly see some storms again this afternoon, especially this evening, and then some pop-up storms could get going here in northern Florida later on. And in fact, the HRRR model wants activity to get actually more enhanced as we get into the later evening hours in North Florida. So Gainesville points north, maybe even oozing into the Jacksonville area. It looks like a steady streamer of heavy rain could set up right in the middle of Florida. We'll see what happens with that. My folks in the Carolinas and Georgia, even Tennessee, will move into the afternoon hours around 4 p.m. I really think some showers and storms will be a lot more widespread than the HRRR model is showing for southeast Georgia, basically central Georgia to southeast Georgia, the central and eastern Carolinas, and maybe even into areas of eastern Virginia. But, the HRRR model just says, hey, you're only going to get some isolated to scattered chances of some showers and storms. Not a whole lot going on. It does like the idea. The HRRR model was wrong about that this morning from yesterday's video, but it does like the idea of waking up to some stormy conditions in the upstate of South Carolina tomorrow morning. Now we compare that with the FV3 model. You'll see how much more active this gets. Bang, you get to about 2 p.m. and you got big storms already ongoing from Fayetteville, even maybe up to Raleigh. I would say this is more so east of Raleigh, all the way down to Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Hilton Head region, all the way down into Savannah. You stop it here. We had some big old shelf cloud in Myrtle Beach yesterday. Very photogenic. Happens several times a year in the summer. And could be one of those days again along the coastal regions. If you're vacationing along the Carolinas and Georgia coastline, I would definitely watch out for some storms this afternoon. And then, if we're going off the FV3 model, it says things will quiet a little bit back down by the time you get after dinner time. But the FV3 model is definitely a lot more active for this area. And if you look at the National Weather Service, I would say it follows more so the FV3 model because it shows, certain areas getting over a half inch to 1 inch of rain. Right along the coastal regions, I would say just an hour inland. So if you're like 30 miles to about 100 miles inland off the coast, I would say that and you're in Georgia and the Carolinas, I would say it could be quite stormy today. We'll see what happens. My folks in the Northeast, you guys are just doing it right. Look up here in Canada. Look at the air temperatures compared to the water, to the air temperatures out on the lakes. But anyways, beautiful conditions. I mean, it's not as cool in Boston, low 60s, but I mean, if you probably work your way just out of the city limits, because we have what we call urban heat islands, basically the heat. There's heat that pumps up from the city, lights, basically concrete heat that radiates off the concrete from the day before. So typically when you're in the immediate city limits, typically it's a little bit warmer, especially at these bigger cities. But you go, outside into the rural areas, it probably immediately drops into the 50s, maybe low 50s, and these higher elevations are well into the 40s. I'm sure there's some upper 30s somewhere. I'm sure Mount Washington is all the way down to the 30s. So very pleasant early fall kind of conditions, a beautiful way to start your August 1st. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. Let me know what your temperature is up here in the Northeast. I have a lot of loyal followers out of the Northeast. I really appreciate you folks. Appreciate everybody. You guys know that. But as far as weather today, we had a lot of widespread shower activity yesterday. I think this could happen again in areas of Maine, northern Maine, but everybody else, I mean, you could get some isolated downpours in eastern Ohio, western PA. But weather-wise, guys, it's going to be very quiet. I cannot rule out a shower for anybody. Very, very quiet weather day today. I mean, the temperatures are going to be cooler. Just a beautiful way to start your August. So, and definitely enjoy it. I'm jealous. And I know my folks down here in Texas and South Central U.S. is very jealous too, unfortunately. So, we'll take a broad look at what could happen today. You can see the flow very well. All this monsoonal energy, monsoonal moisture gets popped off here in Colorado, New Mexico. It pops off and then it begins to flow kind of northward or northeastward around this ridge. Around this high pressure, which is right here in the South Central U.S., right over Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, places like that. And I think that it's very active this morning. I think until the early, maybe even mid-afternoon time frame in Missouri. Then you'll get a little break this evening. And then, as you can tell, more showers and storms get going. And I think they could get going a little bit further east in Missouri. So that means places like St. Louis, you got to watch out. These could get very close. Columbia, Missouri also. And then you got this other ridge rider scenario where you got this complex of heavy rain and showers and storms that move out of Colorado into northern Kansas and especially southern Nebraska a little bit later. So if we zoom into all these regions, let's start out with my folks in Colorado. Okay. These get going. I think it could be very rainy and stormy from basically Interstate 70 points north. I would say 76 is probably going to be more stormy. Up to Sterling, Fort Morgan. Julesburg. You guys could definitely get some big storms, especially as we work our way into late afternoon, especially the evening time frame. It could get quite active, but basically the entire state of Colorado could be under the gun for some shower and storm activity. But these could produce some small hail, some gusty winds, and definitely some heavy rain in northeast Colorado. And then they begin to ooze their way into Nebraska, western Kansas. But as far as rain from this today, between now and the next 24 hours, I would really say more so this evening onward. Like I said, if you're up here basically between the 70, the 76 corridor and everybody in between, there's definitely going to be kind of a stripe of heavier rain. Somebody can get over an inch of rain in this area, so definitely be prepared for some pretty heavy rain in this area of Colorado. But as you can tell, it could be quite rainy for everybody in Colorado today, except maybe southeast Colorado, where I think the chances are much lower. We take our way into Kansas, and we'll also include southern Nebraska into this. And same kind of deal. It's going to be another deal in Nebraska, even Kansas. It seems like all your storms always come after the sun goes down. But Imperial, watch out for some storms. Goodland, Kansas, Imperial, Nebraska, watch out for some storms just before midnight, the 10 to 11 p.m. These roll through, heavy rain, frequent lightning, another stormy late night for you guys. These begin to make their way, almost ride the Kansas-Nebraska state line. I think areas as far south as Colby, McCook, Nebraska could get very active. These storms might affect areas as far north as North Platte. I think they'll have a solid chance to. We're at about 3 a.m., just an area of storms. This isn't going to be exact. These could be more so south, more so north, stronger, more structurally put together, if you will. But these begin to get close to the Kearney area, Lexington, Grand Island area is a little bit deeper into the wee hours, the morning hours. So, I think you could be waking up to some stormy conditions potentially in Lincoln, Omaha tomorrow morning. So we continue to work our way eastward. And then Missouri is going to be the big state today, okay? We see what's happening in Missouri right now. Let's zoom back into this region. And a lot of action ongoing in Missouri right now. We'll wait for this to come through. I would say between Kansas City and Columbia, Missouri, it's the worst. What is that? Highway 40, or no? That's Interstate 70, ain't it? Yeah, that's Interstate 70. It's streaming right over this region. And Columbia, Missouri is right into here. So the worst of the rain is literally between Kansas City and Columbia, but definitely closer to Columbia. Then points south. This is getting into what is that? How you say that? Sedalia region. Definitely. Correct me if you're in Missouri, down to the Lebanon area of Missouri. Definitely a lot of heavy moisture ongoing. The idea is that this will eventually dissipate later today. This will try to ooze into northeast Arkansas, but as this does, sometime later this evening into the overnight hours, it's going to try to do it again. But this is what's going on right at this moment. So we take a look at the HRRR model, and it's handling this okay, but it's definitely it's definitely a decent tick east of where it actually is. So, the stream of heavy rain is more so right here. The HRRR model says it's way over here. So it's really, that when you're trying to figure out where flash flooding is, that is substantially off. Okay, so, but the HRRR, let's focus on what can happen later tonight. So what's going on right now will eventually dissipate. And then later this evening, 10, 11 p.m., here comes another complex of storms affecting the Brookfield, Macon, Moberly, down to Columbia, Missouri region. This could cross and affect areas of Jefferson City and really begins to affect the areas between Columbia and St. Louis. And figuring out exactly where this next round of heavy rain is going to be, it's going to be difficult, guys, very difficult. But we'll try to figure it out, try to do the best we can. But it just shows another streamer of storms making its way more so through eastern Missouri, northern Missouri this time. So please be careful. This is later tonight. So this gets cranked up as early as 8 p.m. Really starts going. You get a very moist flow that begins to stream through this entire area of Missouri. And this has the potential to affect St. Louis too. So please be aware. Be aware of this flooding risk as we get into the overnight hours. The NAM, what does the NAM show as we get into the overnight hours? The NAM likes the idea that the HRRR model is showing too. It says more so kind of northern, northeast Missouri, eastern Missouri in general. But you could, and guys, we cannot rule out the severity of the storms too. Frequent lightning. We saw this happen in western Kentucky. It wasn't just the storms. It wasn't just the heavy rain, but frequent lightning, strong winds, damaging wind threat. So a lot of heavy rain will move its way into especially the eastern half of Missouri later tonight. Talking about rainfall, the National Weather Service is saying, and this is between now and Thursday morning, is saying, a lot of it's going to fall in central Missouri, but as we move into the later portion of the 24-hour period ahead of us, 2, 3, 4 inches of rain could fall even into the St. Louis region, but even getting into western Illinois. So, but if you look at the HRR model, it shows that corridor of 3 to 5 inches of rain setting up overnight tonight. So please be aware of this. This will be tricky. This will be tricky to figure out. North Central U.S., you got to watch a couple little rounds. One HRR model likes this round of storms to move through sometime between 4 to 5 p.m. in extreme northeast Minnesota. These could be severe. You could get some strong to severe storms here. Anywhere in North Dakota today, this is where you have that slight risk. So these will be very scattered. Could be anywhere. That's why you have a slight risk almost covering the entire state of North Dakota. These could pack a punch. It's going to be hard to figure out exactly where they're going to be. You could have some strong storms maybe in Iowa, southwest Iowa. Some of this rain will eventually, as we get into the overnight hours, make its way into eastern Minnesota, into northern Wisconsin, and then I think it'll dissipate. And then we got to watch all this rain down here. But taking a look at the northern plains, like I said, we get into this afternoon. A strong storm shows up off the HRR model in northern South Dakota. But look at these areas, these pop-up storms. These could produce large hail. You cannot rule out a tornado. But, the kinematics really aren't there today for a big tornado threat. But you see what's going on out here. Very isolated, scattered, very strong storms are possible. Look at this one here in western North Dakota. This one looks like it's packing a punch. You got a cluster of strong to severe storms here and here. So, you got to pay attention to radar out here in North Dakota. It's tough. Bismarck could get it. Minot, North Dakota could get it. Fargo could get it. And I know those are kind of household names in the Dakotas, but you got to watch out. Watch out. And definitely keep your eye on the sky. Definitely have a reliable radar to look at, because these storms could pack a punch. We already talked about this down here. We could get some strong storms into more northwest areas in Nebraska, so definitely be aware of that. And then I don't want to ignore the severe threat we kind of already broke down here in Nebraska, but definitely a cluster of showers and storms once again crossing the state of Nebraska. I just think it's going to be more active in the southern half of the state. So, western U.S., the Rockies, just that flow again, riding through. I'll stop it right here. The severe threat isn't as high today for like Arizona, but this is around 4 to 5 p.m. You got a ton of shower and storm activity in southern. I'll name it all off, but you see it on the screen. Southern Idaho, the eastern half of Nevada. Even some showers and storms showing up around Las Vegas, southern sections of California. Definitely a steady stream of moisture all the way to Salt Lake City in Utah, especially northern Arizona, pretty much anywhere in New Mexico. And then definitely some showers and storms in southern Wyoming, Colorado, just everywhere, guys. Just in this entire region today is definitely going to see it. At least a solid chance of it today. As I draw this out, of course, I'm not going to include, you folks out here in the Dakotas. We already talked about that. But this entire area, just that monsoonal energy will continue to spin around out here. So I know I never get very detailed about you guys out west. It's like I said, it's a big time microclimate out there. You could be one area that's 7,000-8,000 feet up in the air. You work your way 10 to 15 miles the other way. You could be in a valley. So it's a microclimate. It's not like that in the eastern U.S. It's a very tricky thing, and that's why I always recommend not to push you guys to tune in from the west away from me, because I want you guys to view my content. But your local people is always the best way to go. But the deep south, typical summer kind of stuff, but you work your way a little bit further east, it just continues to be well above average. The entire summer has, well into the 100s in Texas, Oklahoma. Somebody's going to try to hit 110 degrees a day in one of these states. Very hot. But look at the Northeast. You guys are up here flexing on all of us. 60s, 70s. High temperatures. Now, some areas will get warmer than what it's showing, but beautiful weather. And nice and still in the Great Lakes region. 70s and 80s, still nice. Even into the Ohio Valley, it's still nice. Midwest, not that bad. 80s, low 90s. But you get into the high plains all the way to Montana. It'll try to get to 100 degrees again today in Montana, even areas of the western Dakotas. And then a little bit cooler out west due to this monsoonal moisture. A little bit warmer up in the Pacific Northwest than what you've seen. But yeah, God bless all y'all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.